Dear spectators, I'm going to present the project Making Migration Working for Development. Very briefly, consortium, objective, outputs. This is a strategic project of the Southeast European Regional Program of the European Union. The major parameters of the project are the following. It is co-funded by the European Regional Development Fund and the Instrument for Pre-Accession Assistance. Duration, 30 months from May 2012 till October 2014, and funding by €3,600,000. The leading partner of the project is the regional government of Emilia-Romagna in Italy. 9 countries are involved in the project, 21 institutions, scientific, regional development agencies, regional governments, ministries of labor and social affairs. These are the partners involved in the project. The topic itself is extremely important in scientific and in practical terms. You may see how relevant this emigration and immigration issue is both for the Western European countries participating in the program, I mean Austria and Italy, and for the Eastern European countries, but in a different way. The Western European partners have problems with immigration. The Eastern European partners have problems with emigration. Different stories, but rather important in terms of social issues and management. So the objectives of the projects are briefly presented the following: to improve the knowledge base for population projections, to develop policy scenarios for territories. This means municipalities, regions where administrative regions are available in some countries, and at national level. To strengthen the administration capacities for strategic planning, to promote the transnational cooperation for effective management, regulation of migration flows, and to disseminate the outputs of the scenarios developed in the project. The guiding concepts include the demographic change, including migration or taking migration, emigration and immigration into account, the impact of emigration and immigration on the growth prospects, economic growth first of all, due to the increasing diversity in economic, political, and cultural terms, and the implications for education, labor, covering social needs, and the back influence of this process on the economic growth. The outputs, very brief overview. We identified the gaps in available data about population change, developed methodologies for population projections and policy scenarios. We prepared population projections and policy scenarios at national, regional, and municipality levels. We carried out capacity building courses with the representatives of public administration, and we established a platform for dialogue, cooperation in migration management. First of all, the identification gaps which were identified included gaps in the population data, fertility, mortality, migration, households, education, incomes, living conditions, And the availability of data was checked at 3 levels. Not one national level, not 2 national regions, and not 3, which is the region at the level of municipalities. The results of the tests at all these levels are rather sobering, because we discovered that data concerning immigration, and particularly emigration, are not secured, are questionable in many cases and in many respects. Particularly the time series of data are not homogeneous. The methodology of population projections consisted of data availability concerning age, sex, and total population of the total population following time series, age, sex of the foreign population in the particular countries, also in time series, territorial breakdowns of available data, projections, projection frequency, on 3 cases which we studied in more details: zero net migration as first case, average migration trends as a second case, and focusing on extended projections, including households and education indicators. So, policy scenarios concerning labor markets, development of the human capital, mostly education, and welfare situation and prospects for development of the welfare states in the countries under scrutiny till 2020. The tools used for these purposes: econometric models, cohort component projections, and Delphi panels with experts. Some outputs, some results of our studies which might easily exemplify what we have done. This is the population projection for the region Friuli, Venezia, Giulia in Italy. You might see the rose line down, which indicates the natural development under the conditions of low fertility and high mortality, a decline of the population in the region. So the only help can be provided by immigrants, the blue line there, well, of foreigners, which means immigrants to Friuli, Venezia, Giulia. So this is the only way to keep the normal reproduction of Italian society, particularly in the region Friuli, Venezia, Giulia, going on in positive direction. So what is needed for the adaptation of migrants, for the successful adaptation in the local conditions, is the support for small and medium enterprises established, run by foreigners, active measures for involvement of the so-called neither in education, employment, or training, in educational and vocational training, on-the-job vocational training, and some facilitation of work permits for migrants in order to avoid or to diminish the illegal work. Entirely different situations, entirely different policies are needed in Bulgaria. This is the example of the municipality of Wrața. You may see all scenarios show that the population will decline very substantially till 2020. What is needed? Long time learning, lifelong learning for the population which remains the native population in the municipality of Wrața, promotion of local businesses in order to provide a positive conditions for development and realization, mostly of young people in employment, improvements of the local educational system, better organized health system to keep the people in the municipality, not to have motivation to emigrate, active social policies, and upgrading the public works. This means investments by the state, by the municipality in public works, and efficient housing policies. What we identified as burning needs for transfer of knowledge and skills was completed by using our newsletter, information materials, action plans for transfer of knowledge and skills for the public administration were prepared, internships for Serbian, Romanian, Bulgarian representatives of the public administration, mostly to Austria, stakeholders who are involved in the studies, conferences, capacity building courses, distance learning was organized for public administrators, and so on. So, for the participants in our project, we organized presence, distant learning sessions, with precise selection of participants, with a number of interesting, attractive materials for the courses, didactic organization. The package of teaching materials included an overview on the challenges of international migration, materials concerning methodology of population projections, methodology of policy scenarios, local population projections already prepared by our teams, policy scenarios, and instructions. So, just to exemplify how important the work with migrants is, this is the case of Slovenia, you may see that the migrants, immigrants to Slovenia are definitely in working age. Youngsters are a low percentage, elderly people are low percentage. So this is profit for Slovenian societies. We organize dialogues, cooperation on migration, labor market policies, employment policies, work permits, labor rights, obligations, labor contracts, pay systems, and so on in this direction. Roundtables also on welfare policies, family policies concerning children, young people, elderly people, focusing on the migrants' issues, and roundtables on education, early childhood education, primary schools, secondary schools, job training on the job training policies, and teaching methods concerning the involvement of the children of immigrants and elderly immigrants in the lifelong learning. Thank you so much for your attention.